Man,
we talking about good fabric.
You can't say feel that thing gets soft all in the same breath. Come on, bro.
This is the house that Freddie built right here, bro.
I probably contributed 2%, 1%, 20-some years ago.
I mean, his name's on the building. That's gotta be
That's the Fred Taylor facility.
Man, Freddie T, Mark Brunell back in 1974. I remember, man, you remember? It was Freddie T, Terry Bradshaw, Mean Joe Green, Franco. Going at it.
Him and Franco.
AFC supremacy.
Him and Frank. I remember when Fred got his face mask for the first time.
This is beautiful.
He really did. This is nice, bro.
Yeah,
this will make me want to come to work.
Get to the playoffs.
They're trying to get that Super Bowl.
Can't hide money.
You cannot hide money.
You got to try to find a way to get free agents to town, too.
100%.
Facilities help. Florida, no state tax. So that's one thing that'll...
Money going to be on top.
Right.
But do you pick a team out the state tax?
Miami.
You already got a problem with FICA. I know you didn't know who the FICA was.
FICA
when you first opened your first check. Exactly.
Boy.
And to see only that and no state tax is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, Mike...
Did you see that thing floating on social media with Robert Ory and James Harden?
Mm-mm.
It was 6 championships or $300 million.
$300 million.
What would you take?
Depends on how many million I get. How many million I have.
300. It's NBA.
But I'm saying, what if Robert Ory is happy with his 100 million?
I think it was like 58 million or something.
That's never enough money.
If
I have 100 million, I don't want 300 million. I want every goddamn dime of everything.
It's not about wanting it. Like, life happens different for everybody.
But we can agree, though, that in
300 million is better than 50, yes.
Well, yeah, that part. But I mean,
Yes,
in
I
NFL
agree.
free agency, facilities, that's where it started. That matters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And this is beautiful.
I think it started in colleges, though. Them kids going to colleges.
100%. They get to the league and they like, bro, this
shit's
cool.
garbage. Yeah, that's what happened.
They're going to say
they got
no
recruited, now they
cleats
get
on
recruited
this.
again.
This is for the defense only?
There's offense one and there's two.
Come on, Fred, let's go. Fred, get on the line.
You're not going to be able to get up.
Somebody blow the whistle.
Hey, bro.
Hey, I'm halfway down the court.
If one of y'all would have tore something, it would have been the most horrific moment in pivot history.
I was on top of Fred before he even got up.
Social media gold.
This guy.
And I was gonna commentate it too. Fred Taylor hops up off the ground.
I'm gonna breathe hard for 10 minutes.
This is all digital?
This is all digital. Yep. Kurt controls all this from his office.
Kurt got an old glamour shot.
That's hard.
Yeah, it's tight, bro. This is nice, man.
This Jinx go get it.
Jinx can go.
Yeah.
Jinx can flat out play. Slightly jealous right now.
And this is practice.
Practice?
Practice?
This is practice for
Practice.
This is where they live.
Yep.
This is
I'm gonna show you my favorite part of every locker room.
I don't even want to hear it, bro.
Oh, man.
I hope there's no LSU helmet
Come
up
on
there.
now. You can't have a football team without an LSU helmet, man. God, this is so dope.
This is obviously our college wall.
Yeah.
Each week, when the rankings come out, we're gonna re-rank them. So the top 2 will be the top 25.
That's dope.
Is this legit preseason ranking right
This is
now?
not
or is
legit. It's like the ESPN something poll.
Got it.
Yeah, that's why Florida's on the second row, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to Florida State, so after the first game, LSU will probably be dropped.
Oh, wow, that's
Florida State
crazy.
down there.
That's crazy.
I love it now. Like,
Forget about that one.
And each week we'll dress the mannequin as to what
Right.
we're wearing for the
Okay.
week. So the guys will be able
Okay,
to see, because
sweet.
they pick their gloves and cleats
Based
what
on
we're
that.
wearing, so
Correct.
they can see it.
Man, the game has gotten a little bit
so
easier for
crazy,
everybody.
man.
Jeez.
We didn't care what
That's
y'all
pretty
wearing.
nice.
We used to go play football.
You didn't care what gloves you
Give a
wore?
damn what nothing was going on. I was running.
It's not about your glove color helping you. It's about me feeling better as I walk onto the field.
You remember back in the day the IOUs on the napkin?
Yes.
Ain't no more of that. It's Venmo, baby.
Oh, you give it to me
Cash
right
App.
now.
What?
You give
Oh,
it
I
to
owe
me.
you. I owe you.
Yeah, I pay for your haircut.
Yeah.
Here we go. Big man, what's up with you? Good?
Let's do it right now.
Hey, Fred, you and the security
Man.
guy.
Oh, it's good? Good to see you,
Yeah,
baby.
good
Can't
to see
complain.
you.
How about yourself?
So you and that security man played together, huh?
You know, beautiful.
This man we about to go talk to.
He's a beautiful human, man.
He
Look
brings
a
the
little bit like
sunshine out.
Caveman features a little bit, bro.
Well, it's because he's tall.
Trevor would be fine if he was short.
No, not at all.
So
His
your
hair still
height
good.
makes you look better?
Bro, I'm telling you, the way women see 5'11" and 6 foot, totally different, bro.
What? No,
Totally different thing.
If you're an attractive person at 5'8", you attractive at 6'3".
His hair is
It's
glorious. It's
way
all
So
in
if
the
you're
hair.
attractive at 6'3", you're not attractive at 5'8"?
If you at 6'3" and you got the same face,
Yeah.
compared to a 5'8" guy, 6'3" guy gets way more women.
Get more women because the height, but I'm talking about just attractiveness.
But you're less attractive because you're short.
Does hair matter?
Hair matters if your face is not great.
I don't need no hair then.
Hey, first off, the Waffle House is excellent.
Waffle House is terrible.
You gotta go.
To Waffle House?
You gotta go at least once.
I just go,
Oh, man,
I'm a
it's-
waffle guy, cheese eggs, hash browns, grits.
It's places that you make enough money you don't have to go to anymore. I have worked, because I don't like to talk about money, but I say I've worked too hard. I work too hard to go to the goddamn Waffle House. I do.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm finna get me up. On the mission, get me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision, I can trust. Trust, limitless. Take a stomach, got pin in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm finna get me up. On the mission, get me up. Knowing me, I got the key.
Welcome to the Pivot. Now, I just want you to look at Freddie T and say thank you for what he did for this organization. The only reason this organization stands is because Freddie T. Nah, I'm just playing, but
We all need one of those. It's a legend right
We
here.
can do it. What is it? The jersey swap? we can swap it out.
That's
for
right.
Sure.
But Trevor, man, for real, like we just have a lot of respect for what Fred did, not only in Jacksonville, but throughout his 13 years in the league. But man, when he played here, this was a hell of a place to come and have to play defense. It was difficult, it was physical, it was fast. And, you know, his contributions, I've been messing with him about it, but his contributions to this locker room and to this team, based on what we felt in other locker rooms, was monumental, much like you're doing already in your career. Freddie T needs no introduction here. That's Channing Taylor. With
Man, I'll trade you. Take a hat.
Take a hat.
Take a hat.
I'm wearing this
You know you
today.
want to be a Jag.
yeah,
Take a
you
hat.
can't fit that.
You go to hell. How about
Yeah,
that?
you got
That's a game one? Is that a,
Yeah.
Yes.
Original.
That's official right there.
Yeah.
I'm taking this.
Anything that I got or had, George got it on lock. That's my guy.
Trev, man, you're from a small town, from Cartersville, the Purple Hurricanes.
Yep.
And you would think when you talk small town teams, because listening to you talk, just the humility that you move with, the love for people, you could tell it's because you're from a close-knit community. But your community has a number 1 and number 2 overall pick. So we can't downplay it like Ronnie Brown isn't also,
That's true.
but isn't
No doubt.
also
Yeah.
from there. But with all of the attention that has been heaped on you since starting in the 5th game of your freshman year, you've managed to stay even keel and remain yourself. What did Cartersville provide for you to be able to keep that level of humility through all of the bright lights?
My family, for one. I think it didn't matter where I grew up. My family has always instilled in me humility. I think that's been something that I've always come back to. And then, I found my faith, early on my freshman year of college, and that alongside it, because my family has a big faith background. My parents, very strong believers. So, but when I found it for myself, I think all that kind of coincided with, that's that humility aspect. That's how you treat people. And I always believed, treat people how you want to be treated. And I think it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if, now, like if you're my teammate, if you work here, if you do whatever, if I just met you outside of the stadium, on the street, like I try to treat everybody the same. But that goes along with coming from a small town where everybody knows everybody, I think that was also ingrained with me. So I think everything worked together. And then obviously Clemson. Clemson's not a very big town either. I mean, y'all have all probably been there, seen it. Not a ton going on there. And the same thing is, I think, like I said, my faith is important in my life, as I really do believe God orchestrated my steps and put me in the right positions. And Clemson and Coach Sweeney and the people I was surrounded with, met some of my best friends. I think I've always, not that it's always been my choice, I think I've been protected in the sense where I've always had the right people around me, even when I didn't know it. But looking back on my life, I'm like, man, I've been surrounded by good people. Like, no one can do it on their own. And I think that's a testament to all those things. Long answer, but that's what it is.
And let's go back to Cartersville, because RC brought up Ronnie Brown, and we actually drafted the same year to the Dolphins. He was a first-round pick. I was a third-round pick. So Ronnie's, that's like my brother.
Yeah.
So I did a little research in Cartersville. I'll lay the story up for you to tell. I can tell it if you'd like me to, but there was a situation and you almost didn't make it to the game. What happened in that playoff
Ronnie
game?
told you this?
Yes.
Oh, man. Yeah, we had, I don't want to put him on blast on camera. No, I had a little stomach issue before. I can't remember. I guess it might have been a playoff game, but all I remember is it was either in the playoffs or right before, and we were coming out, about to go out of the locker room to go to the game, and I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. And they would always, I had stomach problems, I still kind of do, but all in high school and college. They'd always keep like a Sprite. Sprite didn't work at all. So I go in the bathroom, they all leave, the locker room's empty, and I'm in there, someone comes in there, hey, we're about to kick off. So I get up, I sprint down the hill, we're receiving too, so we catch the kickoff. I put my helmet on and like run out there without even throwing a ball before the game. It was like, so that's exactly what he's talking about.
And one other thing, they said a squirrel fell out the roof.
Oh, yeah.
What are y'all doing in Cartersville? The squirrels are falling out the roof?
So we always had this guy, his name's Coach Gross. He did a lot of our talks before the game. You know, he did like a little devotion type thing, but it was this little locker room under the stadium. So it wasn't our main locker room. It was where we'd come out of like the smoke, you know, before the game. And we're sitting in there and this squirrel just drops out of the ceiling and it's running around like everywhere and everyone's trying to kick it and hit it. So that was, yeah. I don't know how you got a hold of those two stories.
Oh, man, I got some more
I forgot
now.
those even happened.
Let me make some calls, man. I got some.
Hey, Trev, so you're a middle child between Chase and Olivia.
Yep.
And much like in my house, my middle son, he was wide open. He's wild, uncontrollable. He just wants the attention somehow. And I was reading, much like Channing, trying to find some stuff for this, your father, Jeremy. He said you were either wide open or asleep. It was no in between for you as you guys started to play the game. So back in Cartersville, in your upbringing, can you define or can you take us through a few defining moments that prepared you for, high school, college, and now as you sit here in the NFL?
The way he described it, I was just a wild kid, which is funny now because I think my personality and my demeanor's way different, way calmer. I think I've had to do that as I've gotten older, though. It's kind of just the spot I'm in. But I was wide open as a kid. I always loved sports, and my family, my uncles and my dad. So my dad never played. He played like youth football, but never played in high school or college or anything like that. But my uncles did, and we were all super close. And they're from Tennessee, so big Tennessee fans. Right. So I've always had that like love for sports, and so I could channel it. And that's what I did when I was a kid. Ever since I was 4. I was wearing like a Tennessee helmet. I wanted to play football and all that. So it just kind of kept. That's how my childhood started with sports, and then just carried over.
It's cool because Fred mentioned Chase and Olivia, and first off, you might be Cartersville's favorite son, but your brother's the dopest.
Yeah, that's right? What everybody says.
The outfits,
the first one.
Like everything about him is really cool. The thing that you guys partnered with Tops when you came out of school. But you mentioned your faith earlier, and we live in a world that as we move further away from the church, when you pronounce your faith, it's unfamiliar to people. And sometimes it can be attacked. But you mentioned finding your faith for yourself as a freshman. And discovering things and hearing different things about Chase, he was one to always question. Can you talk a little bit about that relationship with him, but also how finding your faith for yourself is truly what's propelled you to really believe that God has ordered your steps?
Yeah, so you guys obviously don't know my brother, but he's a little different, but in the best way. If you heard both of us talk, we sound the exact same. Our demeanors are pretty similar, and we're like best friends. So, but everything else, we're completely different. Like interest, size, all those things. We look completely different. But we've always been super close, especially since I kind of got to middle school, high school, because he's 4.5 years older than me. So until then, it was like he's a lot older, he's doing his thing. And then when I got a little older, we kind of got really close. And he's always been the guy, he questions everything. He's kind of a rebel, all that stuff. And to have him in my life, it really did influence me in a lot of ways before I even knew it growing up. And then when it became, in that season where my brother really became strong in his faith, and like I said, when I found him my freshman year, and he, was discovering things a few years before that, he had a huge voice in my life because there's certain people, I'm sure you guys know, like in religion or whatever, that you talk to, and it's like you know, you almost feel like you can't get a straight answer on certain things because you don't know if they've asked those questions themselves. But my brother, along with other people in my life, I know that he has. So I could ask him about anything. We could talk about anything. And we just have had so many good conversations. And he's been a huge pillar in my life for, you know, my faith, but also just as a person. So my brother doesn't give a damn about football at all. Like, he could care less. Like, he'll come to a couple games a year. He'll only watch it if I'm on. Like, he doesn't watch any football games. He doesn't even watch a Super Bowl. So until I'm in it. So he probably I don't even know if he's watched one before. So it's like he's been such a steady voice in my life because of who he is.
What about the monk picture though, bro?
The monk. So y'all seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it.
So they painted it as like a skull. I was actually holding a grapefruit, and because I don't know if I was in high school or college, but he'd have me. Because my brother's an artist, so he'd have me like stand in if he needed something, and he'd paint it. If you look at it looks just like my face. It's crazy. So him and his wife Brooke, they're awesome, super talented, but it's always fun. I love how different we are. I think that's honestly what's connected us more than anything, because I mean, you guys know in what we do, sometimes you just need to be around people that don't really care, and that's always been my brother. So it's been great.
And speaking of your faith, bro, when I played, they had chapel, the Sunday morning chapels and all that, and the chaplain, what's the guy's name that does chaplain?
The
Preacher?
chaplain.
The chaplain, that's his
His name is the chaplain.
So this gets right to my point.
That tells you how many times you went.
Never went, and he came up to me one day and he was like, "Hey, Crowder, what happened Sunday morning?" I said, "Saturday night happened Sunday morning, bro. I'm not getting up this early to come talk to you." But that gets me to my point about, you always speak about your faith, and I've heard you in other interviews and different things you talk about your faith. You're in locker rooms with people like me that aren't that way. Like, how is there a balance where, you know what I'm saying, you don't want to be preachy to your teammates, but you also want to be a good influence on others?
Exactly what you said. I mean, I think being a good influence on others it's not always about saying the right things. Like, that's one thing I've tried to do in my life, is carry myself a certain way where we can believe something totally different. Like, that's who I am. That's a huge part, the main part of who I am. So I'm never going to hide that. Like, that has influenced every step of my journey, whether I knew it or not to this point. So I can't hide from that either. But I'm never going to be the guy that pushes anything on anyone. I want to be a guy that has genuine relationships with everybody. And I think through time, people see the way you live. They see different things about you, different characteristics, and they wonder, what is it? Like the same thing, like you guys asked me, you told me about, my faith and humility and stuff. And I think some of those things can't help but come to the surface through time. And that's kind of been my approach to faith in the locker room when you have a lot of guys that don't necessarily believe what you believe. And I just, like I said, the same thing though, I try to treat people the same, no matter who they are, no matter what they believe. Guys that might believe the exact same thing as me, and we'll do small group, we'll do Bible study, go to chapel, whatever it is, and that's great. But I don't see them or feel any different about them than I do about the guy who could care less about it. I'm going to treat them the same. So I think that's where I've always tried to keep that stance, because I think it matters how you treat people. And I think if there's a time where that comes and that person wants to know why I am the way I am, then I'm an open book. They come talk to me and we can have that conversation. And I think that's where the door's kind of just always left open. That's how I view it.
If I played with you and you saw me in the steam room trying to sweat out the Hennessy Wednesday morning, I smell like a stripper. I got glitter on my chest too. Would you say something to me? What would be your approach to me playing linebacker for the Jags and you saw me in that situation?
And I knew what
you
was
knew what was going on. You knew it.
I would just be like, "You have a good night last night?" sit down next to you and just hear what you were up to last night.
Hey, that already makes you feel accountable. Because once he walks in, you're already thinking like, "Golly, here come Trail." You know what I mean, right? You sit up straight.
But even you yourself
smell like that Henny though. You're like, he got me. I feel accountable.
Steam will pull it out of it.
I'm accountable.
But it's some people you feel like you let down, right?
Yeah.
You have to feel that way.
I've said that before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Even yourself.
In my older life,
When you look back at those certain people, do you think that's a good or bad thing?
at the time, at 21 years old, they pissed me off. Like, leave me alone, bro. You do your job. And actually, the dude that was preaching to me wasn't even a starter. Get out of my face, sorry guy.
Gotcha.
I have a job,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't. You know what I'm saying? At that point, now I look back, we talked about it before, now I look back and I do have some regrets of, I had a pretty good career. What could it have been if I wasn't partying, hanging out? Or if I was more faithful and, stuck to it. And I think about that. I still party now, Trev. Let's not lie. I'm not this perfect guy now, but I do look back and I would say, I don't like the word regret, but I do look back and say, damn, what could I have been if I wasn't running the streets like that?
Hey, Trev, you said it matters how you treat people. So you have I-285 from Cartersville to Athens goes that way. And then you have I-85 from Cartersville to Clemson, South Carolina goes that way.
far.
You said it matters how you treat people. And your decision during the recruiting process, obviously you chose Clemson. Was it really that much of a difference in how they treated you guys down there during the recruitment process?
Yeah, I mean, in the position I was in, I was a big recruit, so I was treated well. But I think the underlying, the beliefs, the way the two programs kind of went about their business, the way they carried themselves, I think they were a little bit different. I had a great relationship with Coach Smart. I actually just saw him 2 weeks ago in the Bahamas, ran into him, we caught up, and I hadn't talked to him since high school, but had a great relationship with him and with Coach Sweeney. What it came down to for me was just the people, the rest of the people, everybody. All in all, I felt like at the time, and who knows, Georgia's obviously built something special, so it's worked for him. But I felt like at the time, to go with who I am and the way I kind of wanted my career to go, and especially the people I wanted to surround myself with, I felt like Clemson was the right place for me. And it's interesting you ask, because I think that goes back into my faith journey as well. I think God He orchestrated my steps before I knew it, because when I was deciding, I felt really good about both schools. And I just felt something about Clemson, but I really couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't know what it was. I was like, I just feel drawn to this place for some reason. And I kind of went back and forth, went on a couple more visits to each of them. And then it's like, all right, I'm choosing Clemson, I'm going with it. And looking back now, and the friends that I have in my life, the influential people that I've met that have just really helped me become who I am. It's cool looking back on what could have been if I went to Georgia. How would that have been different? How would I be different? I don't know the answer to that question, but I think it's cool to see how that was all kind of orchestrated.
I think I know a bit of the answer. It's the answer is Deshaun Watson. From high school, you broke all of his high school passing yards as he played in Gainesville, Georgia, right?
Gainesville, that's right.
Yeah, and then when you went over to Clemson, all of the marks there as well. When the last time you seen Deshaun? Have you seen him in a while?
We played the Browns in the preseason, so that was the last time I saw him.
Right.
So, yeah.
Did he tell you, stop following me?
No.
Even to the AFC South, you're breaking my records, you broke my records in school. You guys have a lot in common on the field.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I would always pass that Gainesville exit from Cartersville to Clemson every time I'd go back and forth from, home back to school. But yeah, he's always shown a lot of love. He's never been any of that, that's just not kind of how he carries himself. But yeah, he's definitely, we've had very similar journeys, and his was similar too. I think he was recruited by Georgia obviously too, and decided to go to Clemson, and so we've heard that a lot. So
The story starts, Miller Forrestall.
Oh yeah,
Miller,
that's my guy.
Good old Miller, junior year. It's Miller's time. He's getting recruited. He starts for 4 games. We're going to change the offense, and Trevor Lawrence is going to become the starter, right? We're going to go 52-2. We're going to win 41 in a row. We're going to go back-to-back. Trevor Lawrence is going to go to Clemson. Kelly Bryant, college football playoff, 12-2. He got 4 games, too. And Trevor Lawrence, again, is now the new starting quarterback of the Clemson Tigers as a freshman. That all leads you, bro, to the national championship against Alabama. Nick Saban is on the other side. And as an LSU guy, I'm going to be honest, when it gets to that point in the year, as much as I hate Alabama, you root for everybody SEC because you at least want to say that you would have won the championship if you were in the SEC West. And you absolutely destroy them. Everyone knew about you before that moment, being the recruit you were. I think it said number 6 rated of all time. But that was the coming out party where you solidified yourself and showed the world exactly who you were and who you could grow to be. What was that moment like for you?
It was crazy. I mean, it really was. My whole freshman year was a blur. Like I said, we came into camp, and we're really spring ball because I came in early. I'm competing, and there was Kelly, there was Hunter Johnson, Chase Bryce, a couple guys ahead of me that were big recruits. Obviously, Kelly was a starter, took him to the playoffs the year before. All those things. Odds are kind of stacked against me at that point, but I'm just trying to come in, and at that point, you can kind of play free because I'm the freshman that's here early and in spring ball, so I'm just ripping it. And then that kind of obviously caught some eyes of some of the receivers, the coaches, all those guys. And then we get to camp, and we're competing, going back and forth. I felt like I had a good camp. I'm like, I'm kind of closing the gap now. And then he was still a starter, though. It was too tight, really. It wasn't like they were going to let the freshmen just take it off of camp. So, going to the season, all that happens. And then, so I came in the Georgia Tech game, and I think through 3 or 4 touchdowns. We ended up beating them pretty good, and then they named me the starter the next week. And first quarter, I get knocked out against Syracuse, actually. So we were 4-0. That was the 5th game. Get knocked out. We almost lose that game. So that's now our 3rd-string quarterback, Chase Bryce, all on his shoulders to go win the game in the second half, and we're losing by, I think, 14. We ended up winning the game. And looking back, what's crazy is we ended up going undefeated, but Syracuse only lost 1 ACC game. So if they would have beat us, we wouldn't have even gone to the national championship. So we wouldn't have even gone to the playoffs because they would have won the ACC. So that's just a little side note. But it's a crazy year. I was fortunate to be surrounded with, honestly, one of the best college football teams of all time. In my opinion, it's a hot take. You guys probably got other opinions, but we had Christian Wilkins, A.J. Terrell, Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant, Dexter Lawrence, myself, Justin Ross, T. Higgins, Travis, Hunter Renfro, and so on and so on. Trayvon Mullen at corner.
At the time, I didn't necessarily realize that. You naming it, bro, that's crazy.
It's crazy. Trayvon Mullen, who's a corner.
Yeah.
So we had Kayvon Wallace, who plays for the Eagles now. We were loaded. And I didn't even know it either. I came in, I'm like, I mean, obviously, Clemson's good. We've been in the hunt the years before I got there. And then coming in, I was like, all right, I mean, you don't know what you don't know. So I'm like, all right, this is like, I guess it's a normal team. And then just to see, like I said, I was fortunate to be on a great team, and it's crazy. The year was nuts. I mean, the year we had and just the way we ended up playing those last 2 playoff games. I mean, crushed Notre Dame and Alabama to win it. It's like pretty historic. And then you learn quick over time how special that team was. We all come back and all these guys are gone. I'm like, damn, we lost a lot of guys. We lost a lot of guys, but we figured it out still. But no, it was a special year.
And at every level, because Archie just said it, you just go and take people's jobs. Really. It's what you did. High school, you take people's jobs. College,
you had to go to a whole different team.
When it take people's jobs, you got to the league. You weren't on the bench that long. You still have friends. You named them all. Like, I'm sure you're still buddies with the guys who took their jobs. What's the difference in taking guys' jobs at the different levels?
It's different on this level, especially because it's a real job. Like, it's not just a, like you say, job, but here it really is. Like, that's what, that's how they're making a living. So I think it's a little different on this level, but I also think that as you get older, in my experience, especially when we're with more mature people, they understand. Like, we're all trying to do the same thing. No matter, even now, like whether it's me, CJ, and Nate, those are the 3 guys we got now. There's a certain way to go about it in the quarterback room because it is a different position. Like, you can't, you don't want to step on anyone's toes, but we all are under the same understanding of, I'm going to play the best I can. I hope I get an opportunity. I don't want anything bad to happen. I don't want to, hopefully the season goes great. I play great, but I know that CJ is going to be ready because he's working his tail off for that opportunity, whatever it is. I mean, obviously he wishes the best for me, but there's that aspect of everyone's ready for their shot, and when they get it, like, they're going to take it and run with it. So I think that's an understanding, but when you're coming in as a rookie, and especially when you're first-round pick and you're coming to a place who, he's a quarterback, and this is, like, you're expected to take the job, and the guy that's here, Gardner played great here. He's a good player. So coming into that situation, it's a little different. You kind of, and that's where I'm just going to go to work. I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm not going to step on his toes, though, because I hadn't earned anything yet. So I think our staff did a good job of kind of working me into the fold. But it's definitely, that's always an awkward few months. Every play, Cartersville, Clemson, and here, those first few months when you're trying to prove yourself, but you're also trying to do it the right way because you still want to have a relationship with the guy. But I will say, when I took Miller's job in high school, actually helped him out. Now he's playing tight end with the Browns right now, but he played quarterback, had a couple small school offers. I came in as a freshman, and he got moved to tight end, and then he ended up going to Alabama playing tight end. So I think it worked out all right for him. So
You're welcome.
He might be the one that I helped out in that situation.
But you've had a lot, like, tremendous expectations on every level. Even high school, they expected you to go up there and be great. College, when you got there, and obviously being selected #1 overall here in Jacksonville, how were you able to manage those expectations? And with that, what type of struggles did you have early on in the transition from college to the pros?
Yeah, it was definitely tough going into Clemson, obviously there were some expectations, but you're a young player, you come in, they already had Kelly, it's a successful program, so there's only so much pressure on you, especially when you're stepping into a team that is going to be a really good team. And I think, so that's different, that transition. And then coming here, there's a whole nother set of expectations because now, you're supposed to be the face of the franchise. You're the first pick. You're supposed to start day one, and you're supposed to completely flip around the results, that end of it, from the year before. And that's kind of the expectation, So that was tough coming here, and you feel the weight of that, but still trying to, like, channel it the right way and trying to just carry yourself like it's not there is tough sometimes, especially during the season when I'm not playing well, when our team's not playing well. We're not very good. What were we, 2-14 going into the last game? It's like it gets tougher throughout the season when those just keep piling on you. But yeah, it's definitely tough to manage those. It's been a journey. It's helped me a lot now, having some success though, that I went through that my rookie year.
Right.
Because I think that's I've never had to go through anything like that. I've always been on good teams. I've always been, I haven't had any issues. I've always been successful. I've, played great. And then you get here and it's a different story,
Yeah, and it is a different story, especially in year two. We don't even want to talk about year one. But Coach Peterson, former quarterback, former NFL quarterback, how has he helped your transition and development into your success last year?
He's been such a steady voice for me. I've always talked about this story. We lost 5 games in a row last year by 1 score or less, just all in a row. And that was when I think we started 2-1. We lost first game of the year, 1-2 in a row, 2 pretty impressive wins. I thought we were over the hump. We're going to start rolling. Then we lost 5 straight, 1 score. And every week, it didn't matter, even after that 5th one, he was the same every day. Every meeting, after the game, Monday morning, whatever it was, he never changed. And I think that's what helped us propel past that and end up finishing the season so strong, is because we look at our leader and he's not changing. So why would we? And he's seen it all. He's had success. He's had rough years as well. And for him just to be the same every day, I think that's something that I admire, and that's how I try to carry myself. So to see that from him, it makes it even easier for me to carry myself that way.
You mentioned having a ton of success, whether it be at Cartersville or Clemson, in the first year with how you guys fared. You're a Tennessee fan. Peyton Manning's your favorite quarterback. It's why you wear 16. He was, I think, 26 TDs, 28 picks his first year. I think you were 12 and 17. The next year, he flipped it around a little bit, not as much as you did, but the team was better, much like yours. And in speaking about the troubles you had in year one, you just told us about the troubles in year two. And you have a close-knit relationship with Zay and Christian. And there was a meeting that you guys were hanging out and kind of going through the record that we were 4-8. Here's how we had to go. Can you tell me a little bit about the conversations you three had that you felt like you could still get to the playoffs, but knew you couldn't lose any more games?
You never want to look ahead, but when you're sitting at 4-8 and, like I said too, you've lost so many close games, you're a good team and you're just not quite winning those games. You're sitting there 4-8, you know what you have to do to kind of finish. So we're looking at the schedule and we're like, all right, this is what we got left. I think we had Tennessee, Dallas, New York, Houston, Tennessee. That was our last 5 games. I'm like, all right, we got Tennessee and Tennessee. We've, hadn't been beating them lately, but we got to win that game. We got Dallas is a good team, them at home. So we end up looking at all, I'm like, we got to win all these games, but we really can. Like, there was nobody we were scared to play because we've played all these teams. We played the Eagles early in the year. I had 5 turnovers and we still lost by 1 score. It's like, we've seen what we're capable of. We just got to put it all together. And we had that conversation one night. It was after the Detroit game, right after it. We landed. Christian lives in my neighborhood. Went over to his house, hanging out. Zay came over, and we're just talking about, like, look, we gotta do something. We're sitting here 4-8. This is not what any of us expected. We got to flip this thing around. And that was kind of what started it. And then everyone in here felt that way. We talk about 3 guys, but it takes a lot more than 3 guys to do it. So that kind of carried over to everybody.
Yeah, the play I remember so much about that run was Jinx touchdown. The ball bounces, playing the Cowboys, ball bounces off the receiver in overtime, pick 6. And, it feels like those plays start to happen for you, and those things have to get rolling to get on a streak like that. You have that streak, you win the AFC South, and you're pretty much going up against, your physical doppelganger in Justin Herbert. You know what I mean? Both tall guys can throw it through a pinhole, but that game's not necessarily going like you want it to go. And you mentioned everybody in here having to be together. Yeah. But in your letter to Jacksonville, you said it's 27-0. I've thrown the ball to the other team, and no one left. No one quit on us. Talk a little bit about that experience of you win 5 straight, you put yourself in this position, and you're down 27-0, largely because of things you were doing, but still having that support from the Jacksonville fans.
It was huge. I think the whole transition to see how, like, the belief went from like our staff to start with, down to the team throughout the season, and then slowly into like the city as a whole and into the stadium and the fan base. And I think, we'd had so many games at that point, like you said, Dallas, Tennessee, Baltimore, all 3 of those games at home to finish the year, where we sitting there, it's not looking like we got a good shot to win the game. We somehow find a way to win. Whatever it is, every scenario was different. So the fans had seen that, and to see them see that and then come into a playoff game, we're down by 4 scores and still believe. That's what everybody says. I see people, when I'm out, whatever, at dinner, whatever it may be, and they're like, man, everybody says the same thing. We knew y'all were gonna win, which everybody probably says that when you win.
Right.
If we lost, maybe it wouldn't have been the same way. But I believe it though, because that's like our stadium was still full, and I think having that support from them and also from the guys in here when you're not playing well, like you can feel when you're on certain teams, when you're not playing well, you feel the guys looking at you, and you know you got to change something, and that was never like that here. All the guys are like, we're good. We know you're going to get it back. So it's like when you have that belief, that's what it takes. And then, like you said, the ball has to bounce your way too sometimes. And even Coach Peterson talks about that. When we were on our run, he's like, the ball didn't bounce our way some of these other games. It's going to have to in some of these. We're going to have to play great, obviously, but sometimes it takes some of those things to propel you, and it did. And here we are.
But in those moments of adversity, like, where does your mindset go?
Just flatline. Like I don't think of any different whether I've thrown 4 touchdowns or thrown 4 picks. There's definitely a bigger sense of urgency, and I think my intensity goes up a little bit when I'm not playing well, just because I feel that. Like I hate that feeling of nobody ever wants to be the guy that you're the reason why the team didn't win a game or whatever it is, and not that the guys look at it that way, but that's kind of how it was in that game. So I knew I had to flip a switch, but I told the guys on the sideline, we can't score 27 points on one play. So it's going to take play after play. I said, let's get one here. Let's go get one, and we did before halftime. We got one back. And from there, it was like, all right, 27-7. And sitting in here, I mean, it was crazy how calm everyone was, down 3 scores in a wild card game. But I think that's what's helped me is one play at a time. Like the same mentality helps me keep playing well is what helps me bounce back when I'm not playing well. It's just focus on one play. Don't get too far ahead.
Something had to change, Trevor.
Well, here,
At the halftime, something changed, bro. I love all this cute shit. Everybody was together. Something changed when you came out of half.
Also, if you go through all the turnovers that we had, it was mostly, obviously, the turnovers and then the crazy – they had a punt also into our territory that bounced off of, I guess, one of our, like, I don't know if it was one of our gunners or who it was that was a protector there, bounced off his head. So then they got the ball inside the 10, too. So really we had 5 turnovers in the first half. But you look at the picks, it was like a 4th down, we went for it, contested play, gotta get the ball in your hand, I'm about to get sacked, 4th down, throw it. All right. One time Asante fooled me, covered 2, picked off our shallow route. That one he got me. The other one, I mean, it was a contested play. It was just kept like back to back. Like I was gonna keep ripping it, because that's the thing, is like I'm not gonna, if I throw a pick, if I change how I play, we got no chance. If I try to shell up and just check it down, whatever, obviously there's a time, but it's like if I do that, we don't have a chance. So I'm just going to keep firing it. And then the ball started to not bounce their way in the second half, and we started getting hot, and we got that confidence. And then we also started to play fast on offense. Like we started jumping to no huddle, and we had them on their heels. And I think it's tough being in their position where you got a 27-point playoff lead, and then it gets down to, all right, now it's a 17-point lead. Now it's a 10-point lead, and they see it creeping down, and then you get them on their heels, and now you feel like even though you're down by 2 scores, you kind of have the advantage, and that's where it started to flip in the second half. But
the next week you play Patrick Mahomes, and I said this on air. Patrick Mahomes is kind of like Michael Jordan. When you look at the AFC, recently released, they did like an evaluation or a survey, and top 10 quarterbacks, 7 of them are in the AFC. you're in there as well. But when Michael Jordan played, there were all of these good players, all pros, all NBA guys, all stars, and they just couldn't get to a championship because he was in their division or in their conference. For you, Patrick Mahomes said it on the show that's on Netflix that, like, dude's gonna win some Super Bowls. And even just talking to his coaches about how good of a player you are, how talented of a quarterback you are. Deontay Thompson, who was in this locker room last year, he's like, yeah, man, he's like, when I first got there, I didn't know. He's like, but when you watch him, he's like, he's an absolute star. And he's an Alabama guy, so he probably was hating on you a little bit initially. When you start to hear some of these things and people, I guess, they've always projected you to be a certain thing, but now that they're starting to come to fruition, how excited does that get you for not only your future, but the future of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's some good quarterbacks in the AFC for sure, and if you want to be the best, you gotta beat the best. I mean, that's how it's set up for us. Same thing. Last year we had our shot, and so we said after the game, we're gonna get our shot again. And when it comes, we just gotta be ready for it, and that's all you can control. But we gotta get back there. You know, you can't be looking at Kansas City right now. We gotta get back to that point where we get another shot at them, the Cincinnati's, the Buffaloes, all those teams that have been, in the hunt. But yeah, it makes me really excited, especially knowing how I felt halfway through my rookie year and how I feel now, and the confidence that I have, and not really myself necessarily, that as well is super high, but in this group, in this staff, and like the whole city. I think it's been cool to see how that's flipped, because it's a totally different place than it was a couple years ago. And I'm sure you've seen it go like this over however many years, so
100.
You've seen all of it.
100 years.
Back when he was battling Franco Harris.
Yeah.
Watch out, man. No, but it is the excitement. You can feel it.
Yeah.
Even I was upstairs in the building doing the game. You can feel it. You can feel the fans, especially when we struggled before half, and then it kind of evolved into that comeback.
Yeah.
It was an amazing atmosphere. But you talk about excitement. You got your tight end locked in for another 3 years, so he tweeted, "I'm home." But you also have a new addition in Calvin Ridley. How excited are you about that weapon?
Can't wait. I mean, me and him are equally as excited to play together, because he's obviously hadn't played. He hadn't been on the field in forever. So just seeing him, how he's worked, I think that makes me more excited than anything. Like, he's so ready to go. Like, he's been here every time I need something. He's like, "We throwing? Like, we ready? Like, let's go." And I'm like, "All right, I need a couple weeks. Like, let me get settled in this off season, and then we'll start working." But he's just chomping at the bit to go, and to see that, and to see how he's fit in with our other receivers, it's been so seamless. Like, him, Christian, Zay, all those guys, Ag, they're just taking care of each other, and I'm excited for our group. It's gonna be a fun year, and he looks good. He's a freak. I mean, I can't wait. And then obviously Evan, that's my guy, and these pieces are starting to solidify, and you need a good crew around you if we want to go the distance, and I think we're putting it together. So
Love it.
Hey, man, the training camp tour has been hot. And I ain't talking about with just heat, just literal guys sitting down with us, spitting nothing but hot fire. But we've teamed up with DraftKings to cool the people down a little bit. We're talking about a $10 million prize pool for best ball. All you got to do is use the promo code PIVOT when you sign up, and you can get to the money.
Fellas, use that promo code PIVOT when you download that DraftKings app, and now you draft your team. Enjoy all the fantasy. You don't have to manage your team. No ads, no drops, no "I should have started him." If you have the most points racked up at the end of the season, you get a $1 million first place prize.
And if you don't know what Channy's talk about, stay right here on YouTube and just search Best Ball. They do a great job of telling you how to play. All you need is your phone, YouTube, DraftKings, Best Ball. Go get some money.
Now remember, pull out your mobile devices, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the promo code PIVOT when signing up for Best Ball, and it's your opportunity to play the entire season and come out as the big winner.
We all play with the receivers and the tight ends. They're prima donnas, and they want the ball. Really, their numbers, their success, their money's driven off numbers. How do you deal with the guy being like, "Damn, Trev, I was open first down, I was open third down"?
You hear a lot of stuff on the huddle. Not as much with those guys, I will say. Not even just saying that because I'm on camera and I play with them right now. But it's really not. There are times, like, of course, and that's part. I mean, you guys know that's part of what makes certain players great, is that they're selfish in that way, but it's not always a bad thing. So I think it's, your guys, you know how to talk to them, you know how to, like, level them out at certain times, you know how to calm them down. But really, we don't have a ton of that. I mean, I think guys understand, especially, and a big thing too is depending on who your guys are. When you're winning, that solves a lot of that too, or it should. You know, there's always going to be a couple guys that have some complaints, but our guys have been great. And when you're winning, that smooths over a lot of stuff. When you're losing and guys aren't getting the ball, that's a double whammy, and you better figure it out. So, yeah.
Yeah, because if you complain and you're winning, like, you're just actually a bad teammate.
Yeah, what do you care about?
Right.
You want to win, or do you want,
Exactly.
I don't see how many guys would have complained. Would you have 3 guys that had over 60-plus receptions last year or something?
Yeah, we had, I mean, Christian, receptions, I'm not sure, but Christian had over 1,000. Zay was right at like 800. Evan was right at around 800.
I think those 3 had 65-plus receptions apiece or something like that. So
exactly. The wealth gets spread, from myself, but also the coaches do a great job of we got our certain things of, we know what guys do well, and we try to, because we understand that's part of the game, is we got to put guys in situations to be successful, and we got to maximize them. Like, we got all these guys, we're paying all this money. Why are we going to have a guy that, we're paying a lot that we only get him the ball once a game? Like, that doesn't help anybody out. So I think there's all that. There's an understanding of that for sure.
Understanding is a huge part of a team. It's also a huge part of marriage, right? Which you jumped into early.
Marissa was in here. I was looking around.
Oh, my
She's coming over here. No.
The 2021 Sports Illustrated article did a lot of things and put you under heat for certain things, but I don't think people read it the right way. The first thing I realized is that you're not the most competitive person in your marriage.
No, not
Marissa is. I was just, when she would jump in and chime in, I was like, that's the real dog in the house. But you also said there, though, that one of the biggest decisions in life is who you're going to spend your life with. And to have found that at such an early age, why am I waiting? Right? That's what you're looking for. How important has she been throughout your journey? Because there's a level, there's like superstar football players, and then there's like Trevor Lawrence in high school. Then there's Trevor Lawrence in college, what you're becoming in the pros. And we all need some sort of rock or foundation where if it's going bad, like, you don't care. If it's going good, you also don't care. You can keep me humble. What has that relationship meant for you?
It's been huge, especially, like I said, of the ups and downs I've already had in my first 2 years. I think that's having that person that I've known. I mean, we met in 5th grade, so she's known me since before before everything. We met in 5th grade. We didn't start dating in 5th grade necessarily, but yeah. So I mean, just having someone that's been there throughout every step of the way, that's something that's really special to me, and I'm fortunate that I found that person, especially that young, before everything got crazy, because it would be tough. I always say it'd be tough trying to find that person now. It's one, just on a trust level, but also just personality fit. Like, this life is a lot different than a lot of people's lives, and I think that's tough to find. But she's amazing. Just the support she's shown me, like you said, in the good and the bad. Doesn't matter if I'm playing great, not playing great. And it makes the lows easier, and it makes the highs even sweeter when you have the right person by you, because that's what life's about, really, about the people that you do it with. You're not gonna do anything great by yourself, and to have her and to have true friends around me, that's what makes being successful fun, is when you have those people, and she's obviously one of them. So.
And bro, I love.
Here he goes.
I'm embracing myself, right?
Do you, I don't want to say no regrets or anything like that. I hate that word earlier. Do you ever think about that you missed out on a life that could have been fucking wild because you're the starting quarterback of the Jaguars if you were running?
I mean, I don't think about it in that way. I've thought about it. I mean, it'd be crazy to not have thought about what life would look like if I wasn't married, especially young. I don't feel like I missed out, because I have obviously a lot of friends that live that life, and when you really you get an inside look at it, that's not really what I want. I think maybe at some points you're like, dang, I married young, and but I honestly don't really miss any of that. I think in the position I'm in now, it's like, there's also only so much I can do. I mean, there's always a camera in my face. There's always a phone in my face. So it's like, that's a whole nother thing. But I think just the value that I have in Marissa, and that I see in her, and what she provides for us and our family and all those things, is way outweighs what I think could have maybe been in another life of something else. So I really don't miss it. I know that's like said cookie cutter answer, but it really, like, that's really how I feel. And I think it also helps, like, in college, we spent some time apart too. We kind of went our own ways and figured stuff out. And that's kind of that's part of the journey of me, my relationship with God and how that kind of started. And then we reconnected, and then we really did the thing. We got serious and then got married a couple years later. But yeah, man, like I said, I've seen guys that are in that position. And it's funny because guys talk to me, not everybody's this way, but a lot of guys are like, man, I wish I had what you had. And you see them living the life that you're talking about. And I'm sure there's great parts of it and they enjoy some of it, but a lot of the guys are like, or at least at some point they're like, I want to find something like that because that's what I want. So I think that's also put it into perspective for me as well.
Did the knee ever really touch the ground in the proposal
It
or
did.
not?
Man, I was on my phone.
Bro, it is not in the picture, bro.
That was the first thing that came out when all that happened. And I was proposing, we were in the stadium, and there's people already stopping, like looking through the little whatever cover up that we had, and they're like taking pictures. I couldn't even get proposed without someone get engaged without someone knowing. But it went down. I had a nice suit on, so I didn't go down for long, but it went down.
On June 13th, 2020, you had an opportunity at a social justice rally, peaceful protest, and you had a chance to speak. It can be a very difficult place to speak for a white quarterback who may not have experienced some of the things that his counterparts and teammates had experienced. And you quoted 1 Peter 4:8. Above all, love one another earnestly, because love covers a multitude of sins. And I think that's a beautiful statement in what you were speaking about, but it also kind of is a microcosm of what a locker room is. How have you adjusted to leadership of adult men? Because you're still young, even though really talented. And there's a level of difference in people in here like no other place in the world, right? When we're in high school, we're all 14 to 18, life's pretty much the same. College, the same thing. There may be a young dude that's married like you or a young dude that's running like Chan. You have to be able to communicate with him. You have to be able to lead him, get him to follow you when you're down 27-0. Or as I was in my last 3 years, a guy who had won a Super Bowl already, who was a team captain, but who also had a family young. How have you adjusted to being able to live or lead and communicate, coexist with all of these players within this locker room?
Man, I think the same approach I've had that's helped me is, coming in, like we talked about, competing for a job, especially when you're young guys, like coming in trying to take someone's job, is I've always kind of just taken the approach of I'm gonna prove myself. I'm not gonna say much. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna lead by example. From there, and I think you have to, especially in what we do, is because no one's gonna listen to a guy what they don't know, like he hasn't proven himself yet. I don't think anyone's gonna follow that guy. So I've always tried to do it that way. So I think it takes a little bit of time for that to come out, the leadership part of it, the vocal and the relationships with guys, is because I want to prove myself to you. I'm not going to try to tell you what to do before you even know who I am or you even have the respect for me. So I've always tried to approach it that way, especially early on. And then from there, like I said, is treat everybody the same. I'm going to treat, whether it's Zay and Christian, I'm going to treat them the same as Kevin, Austin, who's a practice squad guy. Like I'm going to treat them the exact, because I don't care. Like I don't care necessarily what you do or how important you are in this locker room. Like I think when you treat people that way, people notice. And then that goes along with how you work too. I think all those things, little things that over time people notice, people respect, and they'll follow you for that. And I just always try to do it that way. Any special places here in Jacksonville you like to go and kind of duck off to?
Now they gonna find him and they gonna be special and ducks off.
Perfect
Fred. Hey, you watch the pivot? He be at the Waffle House.
But I'm pretty sure he'd be at the Waffle House.
Yeah. They respect you, and all they want is an autograph and a photo.
Yeah, so. Honestly, everybody here is great. Like I was surprised at how. I honestly think at Clemson, which Clemson fans might not be happy to hear this, I think it was crazier there going out just because it's such a small town and it's all football. Like here, I think people are a little bit actually more respectful of your space. They give us a little more space, so I'm not as concerned about that. But no, we go to, Hawkers is a good. You been to Hawkers?
Yeah.
Hawkers is good. AB Kitchens down there is really good.
I like a little spot called Añejo.
Oh, Añejo's good.
In Ponte
Which is in
Vedra.
Ponte Vedra?
Ponte Vedra.
Yeah, I go to that one too.
Yeah.
That one's good.
So,
Foxy Lady?
That's probably a strip club.
Come on, man.
I was just asking. We yelling out names. Yell my name too. Shit, I can yell my name.
It was actually called a Silver Fox, but that's I think they tore it down. But Trev, we always ask our guests, what's their biggest pivot?
I got a lot more life left to figure it out, but no,
well, to
I
this
think,
point, yeah.
Yeah, to this point, no, that's a good question. I think I'll do two different. Like in my career, has been coming here and trying to navigate kind of the position I'm in and who I'm supposed to be with where I'm currently at, and how to figure out when the results don't come, like who am I? And I think that's something that I never really had to face until I got here, because the results were always there. It's easy to say I'm always the same person no matter what. Well, that's when things are always going well. So I think I got really challenged in that aspect, and that was a huge pivot in my life of where I proved it to myself that I'm the same every day, no matter if we're terrible or if we're great. And I think that was big in my life, and that gives me a lot of confidence now moving forward. And then personal life, like I already talked about, like a broken record, but just my faith and that relationship I have with Jesus, like when I found out my freshman year, and figuring that part of my life out really has helped me in, like I said, the other pivot of coming here and having to figure out, where my confidence is, like how that's tested finally, like that coincides with my faith. Because we talked about even the Sports Illustrated thing. At the end of the day, I know that this is not the biggest thing in life. And of course, I want to be great. I want to be the best quarterback to play. I want to win a lot of Super Bowls. I want to do all those things. But at the end of the day, there's more to life. This isn't the only thing. It's a game. Like, it's a game that we all have played, that we play, and we all love it, and it's done a lot for us. But I think having that perspective has also shaped like the steps that I take and the way I interact with people and the decisions I make. I think all of that, it really goes together. But more to come, more pivots to come, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The mural in Cartersville reads, "Defeat the noise and rule the quiet." Whether it's at the Capri restaurant or it's on the field, you seem to have found a way to do that. And there's been a lot of noise around your life, and I'm sure sometimes in here it provides some quiet, and also on the field. I've known you, I met you before your senior year at the opening, and you have not changed. You've always been the same, which is a compliment, though, because you've had opportunities to be a different person. And anybody who points to that 2021 Sports Illustrated article and doesn't read to the bottom is just a dummy, because Coach King in high school asked you, what are your goals? And he said the goals weren't win championships. It wasn't be the #1 quarterback in the country. It wasn't throw for 3,902 yards, 161 touchdowns. It was to be the best to ever do it. And whatever your motivation is, bro, to do that, then let that be the motivation. What people say outside doesn't matter. Always been a fan, bro, since I met you before your senior year.
Appreciate you, brother.
And I continue to grow as you continue to grow, bro. And we appreciate you, man. Best of luck this year.
Before we shut it down, because this is my house, but you got the keys.
I appreciate
so this is your house. I just want to say, as RC was saying, on behalf of the Pivot, myself, RC, Channing, Alicia, we appreciate you. I know we've been trying to put it together. We saw you at the Fanatics party, and you said, look, I got you. We're going to make it happen. But also for the people in Jacksonville, because they DM the hell out me. We need Trevor on the show. When we going to get a Jaguar? We're like, we're going to make it happen, right?
Well, I told you guys, because we thought about doing something maybe in the season.
Right.
And I was like, that was when we weren't playing great. I was like, we got to get this figured out first. Like, I can't hop on. Because you guys, I really respect how you guys do, because there's a lot of different ways you can do a show like this, podcast, all that stuff. But you guys talk about real stuff, which I appreciate. It's not just cookie cutter, bland, and I really appreciate it. I've had a great time just chopping it up with you guys. And I wanted to be in the right headspace, in the right place when we did it, because I knew it was going to be great conversation. I don't want to speak on what I'm football-wise, what I'm gonna do before I actually did it. So I was like, let me get right before we sit down, and then. But no, it's been great. I appreciate it.
It was awesome, man.
Yeah,
absolutely, bro. Appreciate you, my boy.
Sir.
Let's go, Fred. Come on, Fred. Man, appreciate you, my boy. That was awesome, bro.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
All love.
Yes, sir. Channing.
Yes, sir.
Great to actually sit down and talk for a little bit.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was fun.
Good luck again this year for sure.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Trust, limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up.